Rise story. A man's died in hospital a week after being rescued from his burning flat in Leighton Buzzard in Bedfordshire. The 54-year-old, who hasn't been named, became trapped in the building on the town's Bassett Road. A post-mortem will now be carried out to find out the cause of death. A 42-year-old woman arrested in connection with the fire has been released on bail until Friday. Detectives say their investigation is continuing.
Customers who use EDF energy could see their electricity bills rise. The energy giant has announced it's increasing some of its electricity prices by 2.6%. The company says a rise in distribution costs has led them to putting up prices for some of its regional tariffs. The new price will come into effect in October.
Overhead wire problems near Huntingdon are causing havoc for rail passengers travelling between Peterborough and London King's Cross. There are currently delays of up to 45 minutes between the two stations, and they're expected to continue well into the evening. East Coast is advising customers not to travel to or from London King's Cross if possible tonight, and to use alternative routes where available. Now, holidaymakers who've left their cars in a long-stay car park at Stansted Airport are finding out whether their vehicle was once one of those affected by a fire yesterday morning.
24 cars were burnt in the blaze, which it's believed was started by an electrical fault. It happened in the early hours and quickly spread because of the windy conditions. It's thought just a handful of people have returned so far. The airport is offering free taxis home to those affected.
Not the welcome home you wanted. No. Well, earlier I spoke to Malcolm Tarling from the Association of British Insurers to find out what happens next for those people who have lost their cars.
Well, coming back from a holiday to find your car burnt out is a pretty horrible experience for anyone. I suppose the only good news from this is that if you're one of those motorists that are affected and you've got fully comprehensive or third-party fire and theft insurance, then those policies will cover fire damage, so you should be contacting your insurance company straight away.
It does seem odd, though, doesn't it, that the car park company has no responsibility at all here?
Well, the car park company will have responsibilities, but it'll be a question of whether or not, if you're trying to claim from a car park company for any damage whatsoever, you have to establish that there was some form of negligence. And if you can't establish that there's any form of negligence, then the company will not be held responsible.
If it is found to be one particular person's car that's to blame, perhaps an electrical fault, something along those lines, will those cars affected then be able to claim off that person's insurance?
Well, if it can be shown that one particular vehicle was responsible for causing the damage to all the other vehicles, it's possible that that those insurers may make a claim against the insurer of the vehicle responsible. But I think it may be very difficult to establish what was to blame here and what caused the fire, whether or not anyone could be found at fault. In the meantime, I think what motorists that are affected want is for their vehicles not to be repaired because they can't be repaired, but to be replaced as quickly as possible. That's why it's a good idea to contact your insurer, explain what's happened and let them get on the case.
Malcolm Tarling, thank you very much indeed for talking to us.
Thank you.
Well, it's 12 minutes past 6.
Network Rail has sacked an employee who lied about level crossing inspections supposed to have been carried out in the Anglia region. It's understood that 9 inspections had been falsified. The company says it's since looked at 2/3 of local crossings and found no problems. The allegations don't involve the crossing at Sudbury, where a train was derailed earlier this month.
A building was evacuated in Gorleston near Great Yarmouth this morning after a gas cylinder caught fire during welding repairs. Fire services were called to Malthouse Lane at 10 o'clock and a nearby council building was evacuated for 6 hours. No one was injured and the workers returned mid-afternoon.
Travellers occupying part of a site in Essex have until midnight to leave. The occupants of 8 caravans could be evicted from land at Dale Farm in Crays Hill near Billericay. A spokesman for the family says they don't expect to be thrown off and are still hoping to get planning permission for the site.
A teenage Norwich City supporter says he will continue to wear a distinctive green bodysuit to matches, despite being attacked by opposing fans.
16-year-old Joe Green from Reedham near Great Yarmouth in Norfolk was set upon after City's game at Nottingham Forest. Donovan Blake has been to meet him.
Norwich City fan Joe Green playing football with his brother Harriet home today. Although City supporters normally see him like this on a match day, the 16-year-old's distinctive green lycra outfit, or morph suit, has been a feature of the Norwich crowd this season. Even opposing fans have taken to him at home games, But it was a different story after City's match at Nottingham Forest on Saturday.
3 Nottingham Forest fans who had been giving me a lot of grief inside the ground took it upon themselves to carry that outside the ground as well. And I received an elbow to the ribs and 2 punches to the face. The second one was more painful, more accurate, and that's resulted in cuts above my eye here and swelling to the cheek here, sort of underneath the eye. And we're thinking a broken nose as well, but we're not entirely sure about that yet. So the thing that I'm trying to stress is that Nottingham Forest aren't a bad club, it was just these bad few that spoil it for the rest.
Joe's dad has since reported the incident to police. His plight also made local and national newspaper headlines, but it hasn't put him off wearing the suit again.
It made me think twice about wearing it outside the ground, but maybe take it in a bag, stick it on inside the stadium and take it off as I'm leaving again. But inside the stadium it'll still be there.
So expect the standout member of Norwich's Yellow and Green Army to be suited while watching their next game at home to Barnsley on Saturday week. Donovan Blake, Anglia News, Reedham in Norfolk.
How does he see through that? The acting leader of the Labour Party has been visiting Norwich ahead of next month's City Council elections. Harriet Harman dropped in on a coffee morning in the Mile Cross area to discuss the impact of cuts on local government. The vote for new city councillors will take place on the 9th of September.
First and foremost, it's about people standing up for local services and for jobs in the local communities. But I think it is also important to send a message to the government that they should be very careful about how they manage the economy and how they deal with public services. People depend on them.
Now, gardeners across the region are being urged not to get rid of any dead wood or trees in their gardens.
The RSPB says that many birds thrive on the bugs found in decaying wood. Serena Sandhu has this report.
Whether it's twigs or tree trunks, the RSPB says they make the perfect home for creepy crawlies and garden bugs. The charity is encouraging us to leave dead or decaying wood in our gardens to help wildlife to flourish.
By leaving a pile of dead woods or by leaving tree stumps where they are, they do create home and vital food for our creepy crawlies and our invertebrates and our garden wildlife. And in turn, that supports our garden bird populations by offering them some food during the slightly colder, tougher months in autumn and winter.
The bugs provide vital food for our garden birds, and you don't need a large garden to help them to thrive.
If you're fortunate and you've got quite a big space, then you can create quite a large log pile that will not only attract invertebrates and insects and creepy crawlies, but perhaps amphibians and mammals and frogs will come and use it as well. If you've got a smaller garden where you've maybe just got a balcony, you can use your pot plants to just put your logs in between those, and creepy crawlies and invertebrates will find that as well.
So, with a few simple steps, our gardens can be a suitable home for all types of wildlife. Serena Sandhu, Anglia News.